Welcome to HFY Sci-Fi Stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Kepler-7's Interstellar Defense Academy, proclaimed the ultimate galactic military proving ground, with the effusive fervor typically reserved for revolutionary breakfast cereals, was the Lethnian Empire's proud showcase. Suspended in a gravitational sweet spot between star systems, it housed what they termed the galaxy's most advanced behavioral modification and combat readiness program. More accurately, they'd mastered getting 47 disparate species to march in unison without sparking interstellar incidents, a feat far trickier than it sounded. The station's design reflected an architectural mindset that believed rigid geometry could tame the inherent chaos of military life. Kilometers of gleaming corridors connected training bays capable of simulating anything from frigid combat to submerged demolitions. The entire structure majestically spun, generating artificial gravity through the simple, time-tested method of rapid rotation and a hopeful reliance on physics. Commander Vexhai of the Zithian High Command, his 4 eyes meticulously tracking cadets through transparent aluminum barriers, surveyed his domain from the central observation deck. Standing an imposing 7'1", with skin that shifted from blue to purple with his moods, Vexhai personified galactic military excellence. His career included graduating summa cum laude from the Imperial War College, authoring 3 definitive treatises on xenotactical doctrine, and an unwavering conviction in the transformative power of systematic discipline on any organic being. This confidence had been his steadfast companion until humanity's arrival. 18 months prior, the Human Integration Initiative had seemed impeccably sensible. Earth's nascent spacefaring species exhibited a potent aptitude for violence and a commendable willingness to perish for abstract ideals, traits highly prized in soldiery. Their technology lagged, but their psychological profiles suggested a seamless adaptation to structured environments. The Galactic Military Council had endorsed their inclusion with a bureaucratic zeal, suggesting no one had bothered to scrutinize the complete species assessment report. A report, as it transpired, that no one had actually read. Drill Sergeant Kor, a Krillian veteran whose carapace bore the indelible marks of 17 past conflicts, initially greeted the human cadets with professional optimism. Krillians possessed an intrinsic understanding of warfare's raw essence, having evolved from insectoid predators and approaching combat with the calculated precision of beings honed over eons to master the art of prey dismemberment. Kor's rigorous methods had successfully molded thousands of cadets from numerous species into disciplined soldiers through a meticulously balanced regimen of physical trials and corrective feedback. The humans, however, appeared to operate by an entirely alien set of principles. Medical Officer Fizzles, her amphibian features perpetually set in an expression of keen scientific inquiry, monitored the Academy's operations from her bio-reading station. Aquarian advanced medical knowledge stemmed from absolute necessity. Inhabiting a world of islands surrounded by predatory oceanic life rendered biological understanding paramount for survival. Fizzles could precisely ascertain the electrical conductivity of any known species' nervous system, identify incapacitation pressure points causing no lasting harm, and calibrate the Academy's shock batons for optimal compliance without permanent injury. This held true for every species but humans. The shock baton represented the zenith of centuries of non-lethal discipline technology. Its embedded microsurfaces analyzed a target's bioelectric field in real time, modulating electrical output to deliver precisely the neural disruption required for temporary incapacitation without lasting damage. Tested and mathematically perfected on every known sapient species, a single standard application would render most beings unconscious for several minutes, leaving only a healthy respect for authority. The Academy employed shock batons not out of cruelty, but for their unfailing scientific reliability. Confronted with the prospect of neural disruption, even the most recalcitrant cadets swiftly learned obedience. The system boasted a 99.7% compliance rate across all species, establishing it as the benchmark for military discipline throughout civilized space. Dakota Reeves stood 5 or 6, weighed approximately 140 pounds, and possessed an unremarkable appearance that facilitated her ability to fade into any crowd. Raised on the Luna colony, her parents toiled in asteroid mines, her childhood spent amidst simulated gravity and recycled air, traits that theoretically positioned her as more adept for off-world military service than her terrestrial counterparts. Her psychological profile revealed intelligence far beyond her years, exceptional problem-solving skills, and a predilection for what examiners labeled constructive tenacity. However, this assessment failed to encompass her nonchalant approach to what others deemed insurmountable challenges, or her species' unique relationship with pain and the sheer will to survive. The human issue, as exasperated senior staff began to call it during increasingly frustrated strategic discussions, defied simple classification. Human recruits typically adhered to directives with satisfactory consistency, performing adequately in most simulated scenarios. They absorbed knowledge swiftly, adapted to novel circumstances with remarkable fluidity, and exhibited considerable talent in both solitary and collaborative problem-solving. By every quantifiable metric, they should have been exemplary cadets, yet they persistently broke equipment, not out of malice or ineptitude, but through the sheer, unassessed application of their physical capabilities. Human cadets routinely surpassed equipment safety tolerances during strength conditioning. They completed grueling endurance trials while exhibiting physiological markers that would signify imminent collapse in any other species. Most unsettling of all, they appeared genuinely bewildered when instructors expressed alarm regarding their performance, as if subjecting their bodies to what other beings perceived as perilous extremes was simply their standard mode of operation. The Academy's infirmary had treated more equipment malfunctions in the past year than in the preceding decade combined. Hydraulic systems engineered to withstand the exertions of the most powerful known species yielded to human effort. Obstacle courses calibrated for maximum difficulty devolved into mere preliminary routines. Environmental chambers capable of replicating the most hostile known worlds scarcely registered as an inconvenience to human physiology. Initially, senior leadership attributed these occurrences to insufficient preparatory measures or flawed intelligence regarding human potential. They initiated further investigations, elevated equipment specifications, and instituted new safety protocols. The incidents, however, persisted with unnerving regularity, accompanied by increasingly detailed reports that presented a progressively disquieting portrait of Earth prior to humanity's ascent into spaceflight. According to xenobiological evaluations, humans had evolved on a world that could, with generous interpretation, be classified as a crucible of death. Earth's surface teemed with predators, noxious organisms, volatile weather patterns, seismic volatility, and radiation levels that would render most planets sterile. More critically, humans had not merely endured these conditions. They had flourished, forging a technological civilization while navigating an environment that would have annihilated any other known species during their pre-spaceflight development. The implications ought to have been evident, yet the Academy's command staff suffered from the same ingrained institutional inertia that plagued most galactic entities. They had become so accustomed to interacting with species that had evolved on more benign worlds that they struggled to grasp the ramifications of an entire civilization forged under perpetual existential threat. Human norms of resilience registered several standard deviations beyond the galactic baseline for survivability, but the assessment reports obscured this critical data beneath layers of technical terminology and comparative statistical analysis. Today's endurance and compliance evaluation was a standard training exercise intended to gauge cadet performance under duress while underscoring the imperative of adhering to commands amidst adversity. The obstacle course integrated physical trials, environmental hazards, and intermittent compliance checks to ensure recruits maintained discipline even when fatigued or disoriented. By galactic standards, it was a moderately demanding assessment, typically completed with minimal strain by most species. Commander Vex Sky observed the proceedings from his elevated vantage point, witnessing groups of cadets traverse the course with predictable efficiency. Zilithian cadets moved with effortless grace, their innate agility allowing them to glide through obstacles like liquid. Kryllian students applied raw power with meticulous thoroughness, treating each obstacle as a problem to be resolved through the systematic application of sheer strength. The Aquarians showcased remarkable stamina, their amphibious physiology granting them an advantage in the course's water-based segments. The humans, predictably, were presenting complications. Dakota Reeves had entered the course with her characteristic expression of mild curiosity, the sort of look one might offer a rather uninteresting sandwich. She moved through the Vexi, observed the human cadet's initial performance with detached efficiency, noting her steady, unexceptional pace, a pace typical of human trainees. Her bio-readings were frustratingly stable, akin to someone enjoying a casual walk rather than enduring rigorous military training. This, Vexi had come to understand, was characteristic human demeanor. They tackled arduous challenges with an almost dismissive ease, treating physical strain as a minor annoyance rather than a true test of mettle. This suggested either profound self-assurance or perilous overconfidence, and Vexy was yet to discern which. The first checkpoint materialized 30 minutes into the exercise, marking the end of a particularly grueling climbing segment. Protocol mandated a halt for performance assessment. Most species seized this moment for recovery, their heightened respiration and elevated heart rates betraying their exertion. Dakota reached the checkpoint and stopped as directed, yet her breathing remained even, her posture relaxed. Despite sweat-dampened attire, she displayed none of the fatigue markers typical of other species after similar effort. She stood at attention, her expression patiently awaiting a delayed conveyance, occasionally scanning her surroundings with what seemed like mild curiosity. This was Vexy's inaugural miscalculation. Military discipline demanded unwavering consistency across all species and scenarios. The Academy's behavioral modification protocols were meticulously crafted for uniform adherence, transcending individual physiological or psychological differences. When a cadet exhibited insufficient exertion during a stress assessment, standard procedure dictated corrective action to underscore the training's gravity. Vexy activated his communicator, addressing Drill Sergeant Core. "Sergeant, initiate Disciplinary Protocol 7 on the Human Cadet. She appears to regard this exercise as recreational." Core's mandibles clicked in acknowledgement as he retrieved a shock baton from his harness. The device hummed to life, its indicator lights signaling full charge and optimal readiness. Technical specifications confirmed the baton's capacity for calibrated electrical stimulation, potent enough to incapacitate any known sapient species for several minutes without causing lasting harm. The Krillin approached Dakota with the practiced confidence of one who had administered this procedure countless times across diverse species. The shock baton represented proven technology, validated by extensive research and practical application. Every cadet learned to respect its authority, usually after a singular demonstration. "Cadet Reeves," Core announced in his precise, clipped tone, "you are displaying insufficient engagement with the training protocol. Corrective measures are now mandated." Dakota turned towards the drill sergeant with polite deference, her expression akin to someone politely receiving directions to an uninteresting locale. "Sure thing, Sergeant. What do you need me to do?" Core activated the shock baton and, with practiced efficiency, pressed it against her shoulder. The device discharged its full electrical load directly into her nervous system, unleashing bioelectric disruption sufficient to render an entire squad of most species unconscious. Dakota looked down at the baton with mild interest, as if encountering it for the first time. The discharge continued for several seconds, accompanied by the characteristic crackle that invariably preceded immediate collapse. Medical officer, monitoring her vital signs continuously, observed a brief spike in electrical activity followed by an immediate return to baseline normality. "That tickles," Dakota remarked conversationally, reaching up to grasp the shock baton with her free hand. What transpired next would become a subject of xenobiology classes for decades. Instructors would labor to articulate the astonishing blend of casual indifference and chilling capability Dakota exhibited. She enclosed the shock baton's reinforced shaft in her fingers and, with an effortless motion usually reserved for snapping pencils, bent it over her knee. The device, engineered to withstand forces comparable to industrial machinery, folded in half with a sharp crack that reverberated through the training bay. Sparks erupted from shattered circuitry as critical components succumbed to stresses they were never designed to endure. Dakota examined the two pieces of what had been cutting-edge disciplinary technology, shrugged, and tossed them aside. Her casual dismissal of the electrical discharge, as if flicking away insignificant debris, was startling. "Well, that was certainly enlightening," she commented, dusting non-existent particles from her hands. "Shall I proceed with the course?" The training bay fell into a hushed stillness, broken only by the faint hum of ventilation and the distant rhythmic clicking of Drill Sergeant Core's mandibles, a sound laced with shock, utter confusion, or perhaps the Krillian equivalent of a profound existential quandary. Medical Officer Tiss, eyes wide, peered at her biomonitoring displays, her expression mirroring that of someone whose foundational grasp of biology had just been fundamentally challenged. Every sensor reading confirmed that Dakota Reeves had absorbed an electrical surge, powerful enough to fell a fully grown Zithian warrior, yet she had retaliated by shattering the delivery device with sheer muscular force. Her vital signs remained remarkably stable throughout the ordeal, suggesting that, physiologically speaking, nothing out of the ordinary had transpired. Commander Vex, his four eyes blinking in succession, struggled to process the unprecedented event. The shock baton system, a product of decades of intensive research and refinement across countless species, represented a scientifically proven deterrent. Its efficacy was an undeniable mathematical certainty, validated by exhaustive testing and rigorous statistical analysis. Yet here stood a human cadet who had treated maximum electrical stimulation as a mere trifle and demolished military-grade equipment with her bare hands. Cadets throughout the bay had halted their own drills, their gazes fixed on the unfolding scene. Zethian students murmured amongst themselves in their melodic tongue, their skin darkening to shades indicative of distress and bewilderment. Krillian cadets nervously clicked their mandibles, while Aquarian students stood utterly motionless, a species-wide response to the presence of potential predators. Dakota, seemingly unfazed by the widespread consternation, awaited further direction with the serene patience of one accustomed to administrative delays. "Sergeant," she inquired gently, "should I continue with the obstacle course? I believe there's still a rope-climbing section and some aquatic element." Brick Morrison, Dakota's closest human companion, jogged up to the checkpoint with the unhurried gait of someone who viewed the supposedly arduous course as mere light exertion. Standing at 6'2", and possessing the robust build of someone who had spent years handling heavy equipment in fluctuating gravity, Brick embodied what humans considered exceptionally ordinary physical development. "Hey, Dakota," he greeted cheerfully. "Are you heading to the rec center tonight? They've set up that new zero-gravity handball court." "Definitely," Dakota confirmed, sidestepping the still-frozen drill sergeant to continue towards the next obstacle. "Think they'll allow full contact this time?" "Probably not," Brick chuckled, following his friend towards the rope-climbing challenges. "Remember what happened last time? Jenkins accidentally sent that Aquarian flying through the safety netting." "That was hardly a strong impact," Dakota protested lightly. "How was I supposed to anticipate their fragility?" The two humans continued their casual banter as they tackled the remaining obstacles, discussing weekend plans and leisure activities with a nonchalance that implied military training was only marginally more demanding than their previous pursuits. In their wake, senior staff grappled with the implications of the inexplicable event and its potential ramifications for future interspecies military collaboration. Drill Sergeant Core remained rooted to the spot, his gaze fixed on the shattered remnants of the shock baton scattered at his feet. Across 17 years of service on a dozen worlds, he had never encountered a situation where standard disciplinary measures not only failed to enforce compliance, but resulted in the complete destruction of the disciplinary instrument itself. His training encompassed equipment malfunctions, cadet defiance, and various forms of insubordination. But the manual offered no guidance for a cadet who treated maximum electrical stimulation as a mild diversion. Medical Officer Tiz frantically re-examined her biosensor readings, desperately seeking an explanation that could reconcile her observations with established xenobiological principles. Every measurement indicated that Dakota Reeves possessed a nervous system architecture fundamentally similar to other mammals, with comparable bioelectric properties and response patterns. The electrical discharge should have overwhelmed her neural pathways, inducing immediate unconsciousness followed by a period of motor function impairment. Instead, her data suggested the shock baton had delivered a physiological impact akin to a brief electrostatic discharge, the sort of minor annoyance one might experience when a tremor ran through the academy as Commander Vexy, his voice a controlled anchor, contacted Senior Command. "Training Bay 7, a critical situation demands immediate counsel." Admiral Kessie's superior, a seasoned Zethian leader, responded instantly, "Commander, elucidate the nature of this crisis." "We've just concluded a compliance assessment on a human cadet. Subjected to maximum shock baton stimulation, she remained unfazed, then shattered the device. She then inquired if she should proceed with the exercise." A hush fell as the Admiral, her voice strained, requested a repeat transmission. A human cadet, after a shock baton failed to subdue her, broke it in half, then asked to continue training. The Academy's protocol is to implement containment Omega. Under no circumstances should additional disciplinary measures be attempted. We're dispatching a full xenobiology team to your location. Lex Sky, observing the cadet's nonchalant progress through training, felt a growing unease. Protocol Omega. For potentially hostile species, for failed first contacts, now for trainees at the Academy. The absurdity warred with a growing, chilling logic. Within hours, a team of seasoned xenobiologists, military strategists, and visibly anxious bureaucrats from the Galactic Integration Office arrived. They convened in the Academy's main conference hall to review every document pertaining to human integration. Dr. Voskai, the lead xenobiologist, a woman whose expertise was more theoretical than practical, felt a sudden, chilling unease as she studied the human physiological assessments. Her confidence dwindled rapidly. Humans evolved on a planet with 1.3 times the galactic standard gravitational pull, she declared, her voice losing its firmness. Their atmosphere is toxic to most species. Background radiation levels exceed safe limits. Admiral Kasai's skin paled to a deep purple, a sign of profound concern. Their homeworld is a designated Class TIE death world? The weight of the implication pressed down on the room. Extended exposure to Earth's conditions would prove fatal to most known species within days, possibly weeks. The silence was profound, the horrifying truth slowly dawning. If humans, evolved on a world designed to destroy, possessed such exceptional resilience, then the Academy's training protocols were dangerously misaligned. What are the practical implications? Admiral Kasai asked, her voice mirroring the growing concern. Dr. Voskai consulted her data tablets. Our maximum electrical stimulation levels are akin to a static discharge. Our most challenging training protocols are equivalent to light recreational activities on Earth. The room fell silent, realizing the staggering reality. They'd trained apex predators from a death world using protocols intended for ordinary species from hospitable planets. A terrifying thought settled, their interpretation of human compliance profoundly misplaced. The protocols were presented as evidence of successful integration, masking their true meaning. Remarkable restraint from beings who could crush military equipment effortlessly. What about their psychological profiles? Admiral Kasaya implored, desperation coloring her tone as she searched for a glimmer of better news. Dr. Vosai replied, psychological assessments indicate humans perceive physical hardship, mortal peril, and interpersonal conflict as ordinary life. They've developed cultural mechanisms to find enjoyment in situations other species would deem traumatic. Commander Vexi's mind drifted to Dakota's casual discussion of leisure activities with Brick, a chill unrelated to the station's climate controls washing over her. If humans derived amusement from what others saw as survival challenges, their concept of rigorous military training likely surpassed the Academy's current capacities. A sudden movement on the balcony drew the commander's attention outward, and then it was gone. The subsequent days unveiled a cascade of revelations that profoundly reshaped galactic understanding of human potential and disposition. Emergency evaluations exposed human pain tolerance exceeding standard measurement parameters. Their electrical resistance was approximately 10 times the galactic average. Most disquieting, they interpreted escalating physical challenges as invitations to excel, not as warnings to exercise caution. Cadet Morrison, during strength assessments, inadvertently shattered 3 hydraulic measurement devices before testing personnel realized they needed industrial-grade equipment. Cadet Johnson completed a grueling endurance exercise in 14 hours, displaying vital signs indicative of mild boredom. When questioned about her performance, she inquired if the Academy offered more demanding scenarios, likening the exercise to summer camp on Earth. The xenobiology team's final report depicted humanity as simultaneously captivating and terrifying from a galactic viewpoint. Humans were the first known sapient species to achieve technological civilization while retaining the primal adaptations of wild predators, honed for survival in extreme environments. Their physical capabilities placed them at the extreme upper limit of known biological parameters, coupled with psychological resilience that rendered mortal danger a mere inconvenience. Most unnerving was their apparent unawareness of their own unusual capabilities. From their perspective, the Academy's protocols were adequate, suitable for basic competence, without truly pushing boundaries. They adhered to Academy discipline, not out of fear of repercussions, but because they saw no reason to invite trouble over trivial matters. Admiral Kasai pored over the final assessments, her expression one of profound, unwelcome reorientation. The Galactic Military Council had initially sanctioned human integration based on their demonstrated aptitude for organized violence and apparent obedience under duress. They had overlooked that human interpretations of stressful conditions and organized violence operated on an entirely different scale than galactic norms. The Academy's revised protocols for human cadets reflected this expanded comprehension of their abilities and limitations. Physical training was re-engineered using industrial-grade apparatus, as standard military gear would fail catastrophically under human strength. Environmental training now incorporated scenarios that constituted torture for other species, yet humans found them appropriately challenging. Crucially, disciplinary procedures for human cadets were entirely overhauled to address their immunity to conventional compliance methods. The shock baton system was abandoned for more sophisticated psychological deterrents, as humans perceived electrical stimulation as a minor annoyance rather than an effective corrective. Dakota Reeves found herself at the heart of these shifts, with the bemused acceptance of someone inadvertently celebrated for ordinary actions. Academy leadership regarded her with a blend of professional respect and palpable unease, as if she might spontaneously reveal further formidable capabilities. Humans suddenly unleashed their full potential without warning. The other human cadets, inexplicably elevated to the Academy's physical zenith, embraced their new reality with the characteristic, almost unsettling pragmatism their species often exhibited. They tackled the drastically revised training protocols with the same unwavering, competent efficiency they had always displayed, seemingly unperturbed by their transformed environment. Exercise equipment emblazoned with urgent warnings in countless languages, and obstacle courses demanding waivers mimicking grim industrial accident insurance forms. They simply carried on. What utterly astonished Academy staff, however, was the startling inadequacy of these rigorously enhanced protocols to genuinely challenge the human cadets. Even equipment engineered for 10 times normal operational loads offered humans merely what they considered appropriate levels of resistance. Environmental simulations, potent enough to hospitalize most species, provided human cadets with reasonable approximations of the extreme physical challenges they were innately accustomed to facing. Their psychological assessments, too, proved profoundly revealing. Humans exhibited a truly remarkable emotional resilience when confronted with meticulously crafted scenarios designed to push stress responses to their absolute breaking point under extreme conditions. They approached simulated combat situations with a chillingly focused competence, suggesting they perceived organized violence as intellectually intriguing rather than emotionally scarring or traumatic. Perhaps most unnerving of all, they appeared to genuinely relish challenges that truly pushed them to their actual, inherent limits, viewing serious physical danger not as a threat to be assiduously avoided, but as an exhilarating opportunity for profound personal improvement. Just 6 months after the infamous shock baton incident, Dakota Reeves proudly graduated from the Interstellar Defense Academy, earning commendations for unparalleled excellence in combat operations, astute tactical leadership, and what the Academic Council, with careful diplomacy, termed innovative problem-solving under pressure. Her final evaluation starkly noted that she had effortlessly completed every single training protocol without exhibiting any significant signs of stress or fatigue, pointedly suggesting that even the Academy's most rigorous and demanding curricula had utterly failed to adequately challenge her burgeoning capabilities. During the solemn graduation ceremony, Admiral Kasai personally bestowed upon Dakota the esteemed Academy Medal of Merit, the absolute highest honor attainable by graduating cadets. This prestigious medal recognized not only her truly exceptional performance across all training categories, but also her outstanding character and undeniable leadership potential. In Dakota's unique case, however, it also served as a tacit, almost sheepish acknowledgement that the Academy had, quite inadvertently, cultivated a student who could likely have instructed most of the courses herself. "Captain Reeves," Admiral Kasai declared, her voice resonating as she carefully pinned the gleaming medal to Dakota's dress uniform. "You have demonstrated remarkable, unwavering dedication to military excellence and brought immense credit to your species through your exemplary service here." "Thank you, Mom," Dakota replied, her polite smile holding the subtle nuance of someone graciously accepting a mere participation trophy for activities she had found, at best, mildly entertaining. "I do hope the training provided useful preparation for actual military service." Admiral Kasai's smile, however, took on a distinctly strained quality as she contemplated, with a hint of trepidation, what actual military service might truly entail for someone who regarded the Academy's most grueling protocols as mere warm-up exercises. "I'm certain you'll find active duty adequately engaging, cadet," she managed, the pronouncement tinged with a subtle, unspoken concern. The ensuing graduation reception offered Dakota a final opportunity to reconnect with her classmates from various species, many of whom approached her with a palpable sense of respectful caution, a deference typically reserved for potentially volatile or dangerous equipment. Her burgeoning reputation, forged by the infamous incident where she had shattered a shock baton and nonchalantly continued with training exercises, had rippled throughout the entire Academy, evolving through countless retellings into something verging on myth or legend. Cadet Vorthy, a Lithian who had served as Dakota's assigned partner during several intensely demanding joint exercises, offered his congratulations with a genuine, heartfelt warmth, though clearly tempered by an obvious, underlying nervousness. "Dakota, it has been a profound honor training alongside you. I have learned an immense amount about human capabilities and their unique temperament." "Thanks, Vor," Dakota replied, her touch deliberately gentle, carefully moderating her grip strength as their hands clasped. "You've truly been an exceptional partner. I genuinely hope we find ourselves assigned to similar postings." Vorthi's skin, however, shifted perceptibly toward the pale blue that instinctively indicated polite alarm among his species. That would indeed be very educational," he managed, his voice tinged with the carefully modulated, diplomatic enthusiasm of someone agreeing to an experience they fully expected to survive, but not necessarily to genuinely enjoy. The ultimate, poignant irony of Dakota's entire academy experience crystallized during her final exit interview with the psychological assessment team. Dr. Theiss, the same professional who had meticulously monitored her vital bio readings throughout the infamous shock baton incident, carefully inquired about her perceptions of the academy's training and its overall adequacy as preparation for genuine military service. "The training was adequate," Dakota stated, her tone infused with the thoughtful, almost clinical consideration of someone offering earnest, constructive feedback. "Perhaps a little light on the physical conditioning side," she conceded, "but I fully understand the necessity to accommodate diverse species with their varying capabilities. The obstacle courses were certainly fun, though I truly believe they could be significantly more challenging." It was chilling to ponder the true limits of sentient beings. Dr. Theiss, her face etched with the shock of overturned scientific understanding, studied her notes. "Cadet Reeves," she asked, "in your estimation, what kind of physical regimen would truly push someone?" Dakota's brow furrowed in contemplation. "Back home," she began, "we'd do survival courses in the outback, maybe winter camping in the Alaskan wilderness. Some acquaintances enjoyed free climbing or deep-sea diving. Nothing too crazy, just activities that force you to really focus." The utter ease with which she spoke of endeavors practically guaranteeing death for other species highlighted the core of the human enigma for Dr. Theiss. Humans had been cooperative, even agreeable, during assimilation. They followed rules, respected instructors, and excelled in every training module. The horrifying truth was that their base level of ability dwarfed the Academy's most extreme scenarios. Their pleasant compliance concealed physical aptitudes that fundamentally shattered galactic assumptions about biology. As Dakota departed for her tour with the 3rd Expeditionary Fleet, the Academy's staff expelled a collective breath of relief, mingled with trepidation about the inevitable chaos reports. Humans were incredible soldiers, adaptable and strong, yet they possessed an uncanny knack for unintentionally breaking military gear and protocols. The final assessment, now permanently filed, stated human integration was successful, but underscored vast misinterpretations of the species' capabilities. It recommended new training, emphasizing physiological variance, and advised retiring shock batons after their inefficacy for discipline purposes, juxtaposed against their entertainment value for at least one species. Dakota Reeves boarded her transport, wearing the satisfied smile of someone completing an intellectually stimulating, if simple, educational exercise. She hoped active service would offer the true challenges the Academy had lacked. Behind her, the Interstellar Defense Academy frantically rewrote protocol to encompass a species whose idea of routine exercise involved galactic death traps. The shock baton incident had shown that human integration was not a matter of obedience, but rather required completely reimagining parameters of normalcy, possibility, and suitable trials for beings from a death world. And, somewhere, the shattered remnants of a shock baton stood as testament to the day galactic military training was hilariously defeated by a species considering electrocution. A mild amusement, a xenobiological puzzle showcasing implications of welcoming creatures from a planet dedicated to ending their lives, who had somehow decided this was completely ordinary.